If someone were to put a price tag on you, what would the numbers read? Exactly how valuable are we? Hi, this is Spirit-filled 10-minute tour, day 5 of Vayikra, and he called. And we are going to finish up in Leviticus, Vayikra, chapter 5, verses 14 through 16 today. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, when a being commits a trespass and has sinned by mistake against the set-apart matters of Yahweh, then he shall bring to Yahweh as his guilt offering a ram, a perfect one, from the flock. Notice this phrase, with your valuation in shekels of silver, according to the shekel of the set-apart place, as a sham. And a sham is a guilt offering. And he shall make good for the sin that he has done against that which is set apart, and shall add 1/5 to it, and give it to the priest. And the priest shall make atonement for him with the ram of the guilt offering, and it shall be forgiven him. We come to the last of the 5 principal offerings, korbanot, korban, near approachings that we are looking at here in the first 5 chapters. We've talked about the olah, the ascension offering, the mincha, the meal offering, the shalomim, which is a thanksgiving or shalom offering. Yesterday, the kata'at, the sin offering, and today it's trespass. You're violating a boundary, either a relational boundary. In the first part of the chapter, where it's discussing how that one might violate sanctity, causing someone else to become unclean because you yourself have become unclean. Such as the sin of gossip. Gossip is unclean. And so when I spread my gossip and your ears pick up the signal and say, ooh, fill my trash can with that garbage, and you listen in and you share in that, then both of us are unclean and contaminated. And so, relationally, we violate boundaries. We have issues that cause us to have a sin taking place. In this regard, as we get down to verse 15, someone has touched that which is set apart. He has violated the boundary around the set apart. It says here that he has done it by mistake. He didn't realize something was set apart. And yet, Yah says, be cognizant of this. It has to be taken care of. This is not overlooked. It's not shoved off the table into the floor. Let's deal with it, but I will give you a mechanism for doing so. And so we understand then that Yah does not wink at sin, no matter how trivially we might think of it ourselves. Here, it's referencing a particular offering, an unblemished ram from the sheep with its proper value. This is mentioned a couple of times. So the word here is berechaka. It's a tough one to say, berechaka. The first time it appears, an entire explanation is given. It's an unblemished ram from the sheep with the proper value in shekels or silver. The next time or other time that this word is used is over in chapter 26 of the same book, and the Torah portion, Bukukatai. And there we are talking about the shekel evaluations of an individual. And that is dependent upon their fruit bearing. One who is in the middle of their years that has the most capability of producing goods and services, they have the highest evaluation. Those younger and older than that age set, they are valued less. Why? Because they produce less. And so it's not just your quality of your name or your legacy or your standing in the community. It is based on your capability to work and to produce. So we see then that a ram has to equal in value to the individual. So then we also have the principle of substitution. That is, that an animal can be valued equal to a man and then be offered as a substitute for the man. This is important. So we go all the way back to the book of Bereshit, or Genesis, and there we will find that Yitzhak, in chapter 22, Yitzhak, Isaac, was laid on the altar, and then a ram that Abraham heard behind him was offered in his place, a substitute sacrifice. Abraham lifted up his eyes, and he saw another ram and offered it as an olah instead of his son, as a substitute. This paves way then for Yeshua to be the substitute for us. So then we hear the phrase, or read the phrase, the priest shall make atonement for him. That is, his sins are covered. If we go over to Hebrews chapter 10, verse 1 through 4, we will read that though the sin has been forgiven, nevertheless, the nature of the individual is not changed. There is an outward status atonement for the individual. He is taken from unclean because of his sin and back to a place of being clean. The sin is forgiven, but the nature of the individual remains the same. It is the blood of Yeshua, it is the atoning work of Yeshua that does the inward work to where belief in him actually changes our nature. We go from living predominantly according to our flesh to that of the Spirit. And that is a walk that we have to walk out. You can't do it one time for all time. It has to be done systematically, consistently, and constantly. Never trust your flesh to give you spiritual results. It's probably not going to happen. Our heart is deceitful, Jeremiah said, above all things, and incurably ill or sick. You cannot eradicate the sin nature altogether to where sin is no longer a possibility for us. That is an ongoing war within our members because we are still flesh. As long as we are breathing in this particular vehicle we call a body, we have the propensity to live according to the flesh. And it doesn't take any effort. You just relax and let life go and do what you want. That's all you have to do. Whereas living by the Spirit, we know concentration, focus, prayer, crucifying of the flesh, denying one's sinful pleasures, seeking that which is above, on and on the list goes. So Yeshua has become an asham for us. He is our cleansing. He is our cure, if you will, for the sins that we have committed. From the Orthodox Jewish Bible, Isaiah, Yeshayahu chapter 53, verses 10 and 11 read this way. Yet it pleased Hashem to bruise him, that is the Messiah. He hath put him to suffering. When you shall make his flesh an asham offering for sin, he, the Messiah, shall see seed, or zerah. He shall prolong his days, and the chephes Hashem, that is the pleasure or the will of Hashem, shall prosper in his, that is Messiah's, hand. And he, Hashem, shall see the travail of his Moshiach's nefesh, and shall be satisfied. By knowledge of him, that is the Mashiach, shall Sadiq Avdi, my righteous servant, justify many, for he, the Messiah, shall bear their avon, that is their iniquities. Shabbat shalom to you, to your family, to all those who gather with you. May you find rest. May you find the fragrance of the King in the midst of you. May you learn and see and have revelation knowledge with him. May the blessings and the favor of Yah be upon you. And I'll see you again next week. Until then, Shabbat Shalom.